Honorable Dalami Mohammed Musa, National State Chairman, SDP Nigeria.
Peter Achagua, SDP State Chairman, Taraba State.
I am Abbal Hajimodu, Chairman, Borno State.
I am Eda Felix Obanyago, Edo State Chairman, SDP.
My name is Abubakar Yusuf, State Chairman, Adamawa State, SDP.
My name is Mohammed Kamisu Haruna, SDP Chairman, Bauchi State.
Comrade Gama Bolaje is my name, Kwara State SDP Chairman.
I'm Al-Hassan Umar Makadari, Jigav State SDP Chairman.
My name is Honorable Ali Shekima, Kano State Chairman.
Sani Aliu, State Chairman, Kebbi State.
My name is Alhaji Idris Abdullahi Bangaji, Zamfara State SDP Chairman.
Honorable Mohammed Sadiq, Sokoto State Chairman, SDP.
I'm Muaz Ahiro Rafindati, Katsina State SDP Chairman.
Honorable Bemi Oladele Ogupameru, State Chairman, Seat of Power, Ondo State.
Engineer Ituwu Owokoya, the State Chairman of your state.
Tumba Ayoleke Jinodu, Ogun State SDP Chairman.
Shola Oladengu, SDP Chairman, Osun State.
Chief Engineer Abraham Ago Opani, from the south of the nation, Ebonyi State SDP.
Chukwuemeka Anochie, SDP Chair, Imo State.
Elder Ezewoke Edward, Chairman, Abia State.
Magnus Ezia, Enugu State Chairman.
Jehovah, Anambra State Chairman.
Honorable Moses O. Peter, Kogi State SDP Chairman.
Chubole, FCT Chairman.
Mr. Justice, I'm the Chairman, Benue State.
Dr. Ekpeyong Ambo, I'm the State Chairman, Cross River State.
Bello, I'm the State Chairman, SDP Yobe State.
Adamu Idris, SDP Chairman, Kaduna State.
Yerima Esquire, State Chairman, Niger State.
I'm Engineer Willington Odion, Akwa State Chairman.
My name is Allen Domotimi Amaden, I'm Bayelsa State Chairman.
I have two duties. One is to thank you for coming out all the way to do the party's work in Abuja, the National Executive Committee meeting of the Social Democratic Party, which has been a success, and also for taking time out in spite of how tired you are. I'm not unaware of caucus meetings that you had overnight, and then you had a marathon meeting this afternoon, and here you are again, like the phoenix, rising again from the ashes, to be here and still be articulate. So it shows that there is capacity in SDP. Also, I have some homework given to me by the chairman of the party, and I need to deal with this homework. Then I will do my own, make my own contribution.
So in fact, actually, I want to ask, when you become as a president of Nigeria, I am from the place where there are a lot of crises of at least farmers with their cattle rearers and plenty clashes in our own area. This one is almost disturbing all the situation of all that southwest of our own zone. So actually, I want you also to know what type and what measures that when you have been to that office, will you treat us as a farmers to go and free our farming and those people and you go free with our own cattle rearing. So that is my one of the questions that I want to ask for. Thank you, sir.
You know, in the Northwest, represented by Jigawa State, the question of what to do regarding herders and farmers and the problem that has become. There are 4 things we need to understand when it comes to the problem of herders and the farmers. One is that cattle rearing is simply agriculture. There is no talisman or taboo in it. It's simply agriculture. And agriculture is something that we are well familiar with. Even in the Holy Scriptures, whether it's the Quran or the Bible, they will tell you about the shepherds and all of that. It shows to you that the behavior of animals, the animal husbandry, relationship between animal and land, these are all the things that are clear to us. And the British, when they were here, found a very easy solution to it. And if you look at many regions of the world, whether in Asia, you would see that they have some areas where cattle travel through, all the way from Russia to China, to the north of Japan. In North America, in the Texas plain, along the side of Mississippi, you will see the cattle travel. Because cattle travel like human beings travel. They know seasons. They know when it's dry season, when it's wet season. And if you go to Serengeti in Kenya, you will see that animals without shepherd travel around. Even birds of the air. When it's winter in Europe, they will run here. And when it's summer, they will go back. So by now we ought to understand animal behavior. And our policy on animal husbandry realized these varieties. And what was done in the past was to have a grazing route. And these grazing routes were carved out based on understanding of ecology. There was no politics involved. And in the seasons where the animals will eat more than they have to eat more than they move, they will be kept in ranches. We have ranch in Obudu, we have ranch in every part of the country. But what happened in the country is that poor town planning, general city planning problem, made us to forget about these grazing routes, and the animals have to interact, just walk anyhow because there's no guidance as to how they work. And coupled with the environment changing, the certification, and one of the worst diseases that can happen to a country, poor governance. When you have poor governance, agencies of government that are created to solve problems will be looking on while the problems persist. And they will behave as if they don't know or they don't know what to do. So that's one problem. In our time, we will be able to solve this problem because essentially, since 1978, we passed the Land Use Act. We vested all the lands in the state. Therefore, the federal government's power in dealing with the state is through National Council on Agriculture, so that we understand our protein need and how to grow our animals and a careful way to plan our grazing route so that these animals, one, will travel in a guided way. Secondly, they will travel only when it's necessary to travel. Because if, for example, you're in Jakosko, Yobe State, when it's around, say, October, it starts to get dry. It is too expensive to keep a ranch in Jakosko or anywhere like that, so you can let them migrate to the south, a little bit south of the plateau area. That way you have some water, and then you travel down, maybe you get to around the Ogumosho, the Ogun River, and you stop there. Then during the rainy season, you move back in a guided way. That's reasonable. Second problem is cattle rustling. The same way you park your car outside and somebody steals your car, that's how you can steal cattle. And if you find out in many societies, in many parts of the country, some of the animals that you say herders have brought animals, those actually are thieves who stole cattle from the owners of the cattle. And I tried years past when I was a lawyer, and I was, there's a gentleman called Professor Mukoshi, who was the Mietiala acting president. I was a lawyer to them at that time. We were planning a national catalog of the animals. So the same way if a human being has BVN, that's how the cattle is supposed to have a tag on its ear. And you can use GPS to locate all the animals in the country. So if you give that project to School of Agriculture anywhere in Benue, any School of Agriculture, they will be able to do that program for you where every cattle, once it's born and it's like adolescent, you give it a tag. These days now we're even able to do it with color. You can color the ears. And anywhere you are in the world, the transporter will tell you, this cattle belongs to Alhaji Usman and it's now in Lokoja and there is a person taking care of it. So these are problems that we can solve if and only if there is a government. So many parts of the country, when they are not part of the winning coalition, it's as if their citizenship has been discounted. So they will form a mentality of people under siege, and they will now start to have problems with government policies, even if it's manifestly to their benefit. So it's a failure of having a good head of state. And in SDP-run government, SDP will understand from this night that when we elect a president, when that president has to be fair to every Nigerian, we will understand that the president can take care of people who are outside our winning coalition because he's the father of the nation. Of course, the last job of the president is commander-in-chief, which means that the security of life and property is his job. And when everybody is sleeping and he is told that cattle is missing in any part of the country, he will call the IG of police and say, you need to give me a department that is well-versed and can collaborate with the states, departments dealing with agriculture to see that cattle cannot be stolen. The cattle is very big. It's difficult to carry around. But government has neglected its duty. You know, in the colonial times and immediately after, when we used to have the native authority, the cattle was protected because of the Jangali tax. So, because the native authority had to collect tax, so they needed to know how many cattle Alhaji Usman had. Because he had to make a return. They had to go there and collect the tax. So they were interested. They would know when the cow was fowling, having babies, so they would go there and record it. But because petroleum has come, and you can lie down on your bed, and all you need to do every month is go and collect money from federal allocation, it didn't matter to you. The cattle rearers now are now seen as a nuisance to the public. Whereas in the past, the more cattle you had in your territory, the more tax you could collect. So they were seen as producers of economic value. So we have to restore to that. Then agriculture intersects it. You see, the way we do agriculture in this country, we are doing agriculture as if we are in the time of Noah, because of the fact that we have not planned our farming correctly. But the way God has designed Nigeria, we don't need more than 12% of our arable land to grow all our food. If you go to Adejia River Basin, and you come all the way to where you have the Tiga Dam and the Shilawa Dam, that triangle is enough to feed everybody in West Africa. But you will see that maybe apart from the time when Bako was governor of Old Kano State and they did some dams. Of course, I realized that recently when I was doing research on dams with the Minister of Water Resources, I discovered that a few other dams were maybe amended, like Tiga and Chilawa. There was some little improvement in them, but there was no substantial upgrade of these dams. And if you look at the water surfaces of this dam, you will see the hydrology of it. Suggests to you that just like Abuja here, the reason why we have water for 35 years in Abuja was because Gurara Dam, Obasanjo discovered that we needed water because Abuja, we are a bit above the sea level, so we don't have water in Abuja. And the water basin in Abuja is very shallow. If you study even the rock formation, you will understand that because of the undulation of this, water moves according to gravity. So we will lose most of our water to the Benue River trough. So what Obasanjo did was to go to Gurara and use graffiti, broke the edge of the dam, and allow graffiti to carry water to Abuja. So if we don't mismanage it, Abuja will have water for another 35 years. But I suspect that we'll start running out of water in 21 years because of the disproportionate growth in Abuja population. So, but you can plan all of these things. And you will see that if you come towards Lower Benue, towards Benue, Mbonyi, where you have the Exa, after Ado and all those areas, you can grow enough food, or to the Unsuka area, up to Apanya or Boligbo, all those areas. You can grow enough food for the whole of Central Africa. Then when you go to the upper Ogun River, Igboho and all those places in Oyo State, the lower part of Ogumosho and all of that, you could grow enough food for the whole of South Africa. So what has been happening is that the Ministry of Agriculture does not do agriculture. It's a Ministry of Fertilizer and distribution and funding, fund sharing. So the Agric Bank, if you study the Agric Bank and the NANSTRA, which has a lot of money, a lot of the money now is kept in stock market. They're just lending the money to themselves and collecting commission. So the executive capacity for Agriculture Ministry has not been used. So I don't want to spend too much time and sound too academic, but what you need is a very strong agriculture minister. Anybody who loves Nigeria and who particularly has a love for the North can only express it first through agriculture. The quality of person you made agriculture minister, and agriculture and water resources have to be combined because there are three people who need water in Nigeria. Agriculture people, they need water. The second people who need water are people who need water for irrigation, and they are still part of agriculture, or those who need water for navigation, or who need water for energy. But if you look at the way we manage River Benue, and River Niger, we cannot do more hydro dams anymore. No hydropower can work in Nigeria anymore because of silting. So it won't work. Even the one we have now, they won't work very well anymore. And luckily now we have discovered gas. So we don't need our water for power generation anymore, except if you want to put floating solar on top of the water, which you can do anywhere. So bottom line is that these problems of herder and farmer is not a deliberate conflict between the two of them. Both of them are victims of governmental neglect. And the person who has cattle is like having children. You can't look at them dying without food. Even the cattle themselves will not listen to you. They will go around looking for where to graze. So the same way you will feel if you were hungry. So the government that we run will ensure that we take care of all these departments. Luckily enough, you don't need to afford additional money because the money is already there. But it will mean that if we have a by-election or an election, and SDP is contesting election in one place, you will not come to me in the villa and say, Mr. President, we need money. And I will say, okay, go to Agric Bank, go and collect money there, go and do election. Because if you do that, Agric Bank will have no money to give to the farmers. And you will have problems. That's what is happening in the country. Those who are running our revenue or running our government assume that all government money is the same. And all government money is for appropriation by them. So these agencies have money voted for them, but who knows? The money is misused. That is the reason for that number one problem, and I have solutions for that easily.
My question is, that's young children, because I come from an environment, especially youth, especially children, because I come from an environment where, we have what we call almajiri. Now there's an explosion of this almajiri to the level that we have 5-year-olds calling themselves almajiri. To be candid, to me personally, it is becoming a very grave concern. So, Your Excellency, I don't know what program you have for all these kids their parents? How are you going to alleviate so that we will reach a stage that we don't even see them? We see them in classrooms, we see them well fed, we see them enjoying like any other kid. These are some measures. And any day I see them, I cry. So I don't know what Your Excellency have, and our youth in generally, because they are the future generation. So I think this is my question from your state. I don't know what.
Almajiri problem is an embarrassment. Why I say so is this. We have a tradition in this country of Islamic education. And that tradition means that when a child is coming of age, they have to go to a madrasa or somewhere so that they can learn how to memorize the Quran and how to have religious instruction. Because Islam is a religion not of inheritance. It's a religion you have to accept yourself. So you may be born into a Muslim family, but as you are growing up, you yourself have to accept the religion. And it's a religion of the book. So it's a religion of knowledge. So it means that you have to learn the religion. To do so, you have to learn it in an environment of self-denial. And you will notice that if you study history, didactic history, you know that the Greeks, Aristotle and all those people that we quote, they were running Almajiris.
Yeah. Socrates.
All of them were running Almajiri schools. Because there were schools where you would leave your parent. It didn't matter whether your father was the emperor or the Caesar of Rome. If you wanted to learn, you would leave your family and go to the street with the master. And then you have no food. Your parents must not send you money because they wanted you to learn with the rest of the society. So they will go as scholars. From door to door, they will wash plates, they will clean the street, people will give them money. That's how the Greek learned. And in fact, one of the worst of the teachers, hardest of them, was called Diogenes. Diogenes would not even allow to give water to his students because he wanted to teach them asceticism, self-denial. So it's the idea of Almajiri has an element of sacrifice added to it. But like many things that we do in this country, the way we have shortage of Western teachers and the quality of Western education is dropping, that's how it's happening in the Islamic world as well. So, and you have to have a program which understands that Islamic education is part of the tradition of this country, and that it is not something you can say you will shy away from, because the people are going to remain forever in this country Muslims, and they need to understand the precept of the religion. So the state has to know that that forms part of our education. So don't alienate it and say, well, it's the custom. No, it is a proper education. It is manifestly possible for you to succeed in engineering, in agriculture, in science, without understanding Western education. In fact, algebra and many parts of modern mathematics came from Islamic education. So if you know the story of the universities in Andalusia, they were universities created by Muslim scholars. So we need to understand that we need to deal with it. But if you notice now that in our Western education, ASU is on strike. So we at least generally agree that Western education is good for us, but ASU is on strike. So imagine the neglect that Islamic scholars will have. So in the past, people used to travel to Sudan and other places, Yemen, to get teachers to replenish this educational system. So then note one environment. In an environment of extreme poverty, the poor will become much poorer. And those in the middle who give zakat or some form of support are also themselves being confronted by poverty. So the solution to this Almajiri problem is basically this. One, you have to allow local government to work. If local governments don't work, poverty will remain in this country. Because I'm talking about the subject because I've taken time to study the subject. Imagine me in the State House as the President of Nigeria, and I'm happy to think about food for Almajiri children in Katsina. How realistic is that? I cannot make a continuous, sustainable intervention in that regard. What I can use to intervene in that regard is to look at the minimum nutrition required for children. And in order to do that, I have to relate to the children in terms of family support. Remember, there was a program introduced by Abacha's government, family support program. And if you look at the concept, I don't say you have to agree with Abacha, but if you look at the concept of the family support program, the understanding was that if the family is not poor, almost impossible for the child to be poor. And the definition of the concept of family in Africa is not the nuclear definition. So if a child is living with a Malam, and they are living there in the Malam's environment or in its compound, then you have to tackle poverty in that place. And if you are able to systematize and support Islamic education, you can have a dual heritage where you have northern and southern children of Islamic background being very sound like Tafawa Balewa was. Balewa was very sound in Islamic education, was very sound in Western education. And if you can combine these two, I don't see why a child will not enter a proper school and the component of that school have the Islamic training component inside that school. And you will see that many people you see today who you would say, oh, they are successful in society, including President Buhari and all of that, are Almanjiris. It was just the only difference between President Buhari today and the Almanjiri of today is the quality of government of that time. Because at that time, the native authority will pick them up and put them in boarding school, pay for it, feed them. Then from there, you go to Bariwa College or any of the colleges, they'll pay for you. And if we do that now, the Almanjiri thing will disappear. It is not inherently attached to the religion. It's just another manifestation of our societal neglect. So that's what we need to do with respect to Almanjiri. But I need to say something, because somebody will say, but President Goodluck Jonathan voted a lot of money, if you remember, for Almanjiri education. Okay. Let me tell you where the problem lies. Voting money in government and the money getting to the destination is a different thing. So don't say that if I put money to support or to eradicate this problem, that the problem cannot be solved because a previous government voted billions and the problem was not solved. I will tell you that the reason is that the money became part of the PDP spending machinery. The money did not go to those who needed it. In fact, the president who released the money, I think you were in government at that time, you people released the money. If you ask them, give me a sense of these children, what are their names? They have no database. It's just another excuse to spend government money. But in our time, we will do it differently, and we will deal with it.
My question will be direct. By God's grace, when you become the president of Nigeria, what is your agenda for the youth? Thank you.
Youth poverty is the easiest to solve. There are 3 ways you solve youth poverty. In fact, youth poverty should not exist. One is that you give gainful employment to parents. Majority of parents are normal people. When they are earning well, they will take care of their children. Secondly, youth from age of 2 or 3 will be in school till they are like 19. So if they are in school and the school is not shut down, and where a child is having problems or where to stay at home and all of that, the child is put in a hostel. The hostel is where the child will be fed. So a person who is put in school, regardless of his family circumstances, who is put in school, and who stays in school till age of 19 or 20 when they graduate from university, is not going to know poverty. Because once they're out of school, they either join the armed forces or the civil services, or they get private sector employment, they will become adults and start working. So the failure of government to provide social services is the reason why we have poverty with children. Because once a child is born in society, except the child has a peculiar problem of disability and all of that, even that, you have charity homes, you have places where you can put them. So child poverty, I think, in an SDP government, child poverty will be something that will not be related to Nigeria.
I am Chief Engineer Abraham Agopani. Mr. President, I'm coming from the east of the Niger, where the wise men come from. Mr. President, the East has mandated me this evening to congratulate you and to let you know that they are with you by God's grace. It's not by power, not by might. Your Excellency, sir, the east of the Niger is at the very flank of the country, associated with so many, the good, the bad, and the ugly. At this dispensation, the East has been tagged terrorist. During the time of Obasanjo, from the 70s, it was tagged the London of Nigeria. Coming to Yaradua and Jonathan, it was tagged the Dubai of Nigeria. Number one, what are you going to tag the East? Two, be rest assured that the East are going to give you their vote, and you are going to have it by His grace. What will you do concerning the infrastructure decay in the east of the Niger? Let me come back home. The questions I do ask is, Mr. President, sir, being a prince, a legal luminary, an icon of repute, you have come to be with SDP, and you are selling the ticket of SDP. Mr. President, sir, are you going to sell SDP? Are you going to sell SDP? Are you for SDP to add to your profiles? Thank you, and God bless.
You know, in the Southeast, there is no reason why you have infrastructure decay in the Southeast. The reasons are four. Number one, the land is very small. So Kano State is almost the same size of the entire Southeast, if not more. Therefore, if you start your infrastructure from, say, the bridgehead in Onitsha, let's count Asaba out, take from Onitsha, you go through Obosi and go towards Oka, you go to Oji River, you get to Enugu, you branch, and then you go towards Ebonyi. So you go, continue, you get to Wana and go left or right. You want to go towards Benue, or you want to go towards Cross River, and then go to Cameroon. The whole of it is about 223 kilometers. So that is, let's say, Lagos-Ibadan Expressway times 2. So why should that be a problem for you to do in 3 years? If you are not stealing the money or you are not wasting your time. Mind you, there are 5 state governments there as well, who in normal times, if they were like people like Sam Mbakwe, not the people we have now. If you had Jim Wobodo type, Sam Mbakwe type, and all that type of people, you will see that it is possible that the federal government and the state government coming together will be able to deal with the issue of infrastructure. Second part of the infrastructure that the Southeast needs, it's not normal civil infrastructure. Southeast needs economic infrastructure. Because if you look at the if you do operations research and find out that a man who has a factory in Onitsha producing, say, bottles, and another person who has a factory in Apapa or Ikeja producing bottles, same bottles, what does the man in Onitsha have to do? He has to do 3 times the work of the man in Ikeja. Because the man in Ikeja brings his goods to Apapa port and can use a container or wheelbarrow, anything he likes. He carries his goods to Ikeja and it's fine. The man who has a factory in Onitsha has to come to Apapa port to carry his goods where 1 million custom people are waiting for him. And then when he manages to clear his goods and is going towards Ore, Jebu-Ode, everybody is collecting money from him until the Niger Bridge. Now, but if you cross the old Niger Bridge, there's a second one being built, but if you look at the old Niger Bridge, to the left of it, there's a place in Onitsha we call port. It's just called port because in colonial time, it used to be a port. And if you look at the navigation of the river, the river, that Niger River, was dredged all the way to Nubusa, and then you branch off to what we call Omombala River, if you want going towards Aguleri, Omuleri, where you have the gas reserve. So if you dredge all that river, all of them is navigable. So you will see that we have in government things that can make us succeed. And if you come up with a plan in Onitsha that you want to build a port in Onitsha, there is enough capital within Onitsha to do so. All the government needs to do is to liberalize infrastructure. Then the third part of the problem in the Southeast has to do with the problem of erosion. And if you study the problem of erosion, all you need to do is to do time travel. You go back to 100 years ago, it was a highly forested place. So places like Arodizogu and all those places, you could not drop a pin from the sky and it would fall to the ground. It was all full of forest. But deforestation, due to selling timber and all the rest of it, some of it, when they wanted to do other palm and all those other development under Okpara, a lot of deforestation was done. Then Igbos are very fertile people, and they started producing children. If you are from Mbise, you have like 13 children, and they will still say carry on. So the population grew so fast, and every person being of means will have to build his own homestead. So there's so much pressure on the land, and the land is clayish, so it tends to erode because there's no canopy to collect the water. So what the government needed to do, it was that in ecological fund, every year, money is voted for that, but you know, politicians who have experience will know that ecological fund is another bonus. If you lose election, they will give money for the ecological fund to compensate yourself. But if we spend the money accordingly,
You have economic erosion.
yes, you will, exactly, not create economic erosion. But if you spend the money wisely, we will be able to carry the water. Because if you look at the configuration of the East, Oguta Lake is a collection center. So part of the water will pass through Imo River and goes to join Oji River flowing towards the sea, towards Ungwa land, or that area. So all those obstructions, all we needed to do, and that's why you see Aba all the time when they try to take care of Aba, it's very difficult because of the fact that the soil, the water courses have been so blocked and it has a lot of seepage. So it's very expensive and you have to be highly intentional before you can do roads along that area. So what you need to understand now is that if you take all that drainage and you take it, you will have the land become a little drier and you're able to do infrastructure without the road breaking. If you go around the road I used to travel often, Enugu, Oka Highway, right now it's like a forest. They are taking the old roads built by Okpara and then later maintained by Nigerian Army during the Biafran War. So that is the problem of the Southeast. The last problem I want us to understand, and it may sound like it's not important, but it's very important, is that the Igbos are a diaspora people. They're like Lebanese or Syrians or Jewish people that are societies in the world who are societies of diaspora. They travel all over the world. So only a minority remains at home, majority travels. The implication of that is that the individual is more successful than the homestead itself. And as a result of that, people who return tend to be sometimes a victim of crime. And the way the Nigerian police is run by now is that every place where there's crime is a revenue collection center. The attempt is not to quell the crime, but to exploit it. So you will find out that a DPO in Onitsha does not want to be promoted to assistant commissioner and posted out to go and work in Ondo. He will say, please leave me here, take some money and leave me here. You don't just leave me here because every day there's one big man I have to arrest and get some money. So if we deal with that and you have a police that works, people will be able to go to the southeast and settle down and do all of that. I'm giving you these long answers. I do apologize. Just to let you know that we know the detail of the problem, but I will hurry up now. I was asked again whether I will serve the SDP. The job of the SDP is to serve Nigerian people. We are not to serve ourselves. SDP, that horse is a sacrificial horse. It's a horse of war to carry us in the war against poverty, against insecurity. Our coming together should not be to reward ourselves. We should not make the same mistake that PDP made, where they behave like people who have taken over the country, the conquerors, and who are sharing the country as a loot. We should be like our founding fathers, Aminu Kano, Sardauna, Okpara, Awolowo, people who don't mind to remain the way they are, even when they have opportunity to dispense public funds. We should take vicarious enjoyment in that we change the history of this country. We should get used to it. The only way we can succeed in government is when someone like me, I go into government and I spend 4 years or 8 years, and I come out 5 times poorer than when I went in. That's when SDP will have a name that can endure. That is why in South Africa they have Mandela, and they have a statue of Mandela. We are lucky now that in the modern time, the only hero of democracy that we have, MK Abiola, is from this party. There is no, since 1998, when they formed SDP, no single hero, PDP, have not produced a single hero. APC started with a hero, they ended with a 0. So we have to learn from that. That we should not say, when we get to power, will you take care of the chairman? God will take care of the chairman. Let us take care of the people. Let people see our children and grandchildren and say, I follow your grandfather or father to a party. And when that party came, all the problems of this community disappeared. Not that your father and I used to take night bus to Abuja. But when your father became minister, he bought me a jeep. He himself bought a plane. No. It should be that these people sacrificed their time and they made the country good. But if the country is good, since we're inside the country, we'll be part of the goodness of the country. But our lives should not change a little, even one single bit, above the life of the average person. We should measure our success by what happens to the lowest person in society. I go to your community. Every youth who used to be unemployed is employed. Every pothole is blocked. Every school is open. Every hospital can service you. And heads of state of other countries will come to Nigeria to do medical checkup, not our own, going on ambulance all the time. You remember that when my uncle, Emeritus Professor Dosekun, was at the teaching hospital UCH Ibadan, the king of Saudi Arabia used to come to Ibadan for annual checkup. So my uncle died a very frustrated man, the first professor of medicine. Not branch of medicine, full medicine. So we can do it, and we should be able to do it.
You're already there, sir.
Thank you.
In Nigeria of today, Many people have been clamoring for restructuring. Please, Mr. President-to-be, what are your plans to restructure this country? It's just a question. Thank you.
The issue of restructuring. Now, restructuring, what's our plan for restructuring? Restructuring is a nebulous concept. But after listening to different proponents of restructuring, I have been able to summarize to 3 tendencies. There's a tendency that argues from jurisprudence. They say that because a soldier called Absalami Abubakar signed an instrument, a decree, and call it a constitution, doesn't make it a constitution. And that we need to go and have an autonomous constitution. We go to a conference and say we want to create a constitution for ourselves. That one is an intellectual argument. Just basically saying the manner in which your constitution has been derived does not meet the definition of classical definition of constitution. That's one argument. You will find people like Tuji Abayomi, Agbakoba, and some of them, they talk about it. But that's just one aspect. Second aspect are the elderly people, those who are older than Nigeria. And when you are listening to people argue politics around you, always take note. If the person is older than Nigeria, then listen with attention, because what is fighting over happened in the past, not now. So, because they were born as people who were not Nigerians, and they became Nigerians, and some of them are not very happy that they're Nigerians. So you listen to them with attention, and they will remind you of those days.
It's just like Brexit.
Yes, they will ask you about those days when the Western region had its own embassy in London, and the East North had its own, and all over the country they're like that. And they are justified by 2 things. Nostalgia. When they were young, things worked. And because things worked, they meant that since things worked under the region, it is the region that made them work. So if I was a young man growing up in Hadejia, I had no rich father. I have a friend, Dr. Arun Adamu. He was just a cattle boy, following a cattle. And they saw him and said, this Fulani boy. He spoke to his father, let's put your son in school. He said, okay, take him. He became one of the best students in Yale University from following cattle. For many years, he was the president of the Yale Association Nigeria. So, those who live in that time will say, it was because of the region that things worked. So it is possible to make a government work now. It is the failure of now that makes people to think that the region worked and what we have now doesn't work. But what happens is that the personality has changed and the character of the people in government has changed. And that's why we say, wait, let Segun Oni become governor of Ekiti. People of Ekiti will stop looking back to this Western region. They will say, well, Segun Oni is working, we can see now. So we need to demonstrate to them now that government can work. People like us will be in government and make it work now. Then they will not remember the past. So those people argue also from ethnic point of view. They will think that a federation, because they allude to Switzerland, they assume that a federation has to be a federation of ethnic groups. People like Papa Enahoro, I used to go to his house and debate this thing for a long time. And they would tell me that we went to Lancaster House as ethnic groups. I said, no, you went to Lancaster House as regions, not ethnic groups. You follow Awolowo. You are an Ishaman, Awolowo was a Jebu man. Are you the same? You're not the same, but you argue the same way. So we debate it. So many of these leaders thought that it's ethnic nationality, but in America there's no ethnicity. And they have a federal system. So what happened then? The Germans, the Irish, and all the various populations that came to America did not form themselves into different regions and form states. They formed generic states. So what will happen to us is that as we grow up and we do better government, these people will forget. I can tell you there was a time my grandmother, I knew her very well, I was very close to her, and my great-grandmother had a very abiding fear of Yoruba people. Because Ondo people used to say, those Yoruba people. So, and, it used to be a thing. Even Ondo man had a Yoruba friend. They would say, you have a friend, that Yoruba person is your friend. So, but now, if you say Yoruba people, Ondo people will raise up their hand. So, same way one day, when you say Nigerian, everybody will raise up their hand. They will forget their ethnic. Then the last component are those who argue from efficiency. Restructuring from efficiency. And the way to tackle it is look at this, is that we have legislative lists. So things that are better done by the lowest level of government, we somehow put them in the exclusive list. Because the exclusive list was prepared by the military. And they wanted to concentrate power, because if I give you a radio license, you can go and do a coup. So they were worried about telecoms and signal and wire and all those things, whereas those things could actually be put in the concurrent list. In fact, if I have my way, the best list is concurrent. Let everybody do what you want to do. If a housewife can buy a generator and generate electricity with a better pass my neighbor generator and connect the wire, how can a local government not do it? How much more a state? Why do I have to come to Abuja to use Owena River to do a simple irrigation for 2 megawatts? So these are arguments arising from inefficiency. So we can restructure our constitution to make it more efficient. So that someone who is in Kano who wants to build an airport, Kano people have enough money to build 5 airports. Kano is a city of commerce with many merchants. So Kano State should be able to authorize you to build an airport. And then you just go to NAMA or NCAA to get standardization. So those things we will do in our time to try to see that we restructure the Constitution to allow more freedom for creativity, so that people don't have to come to Abuja for a license to mine gold in Zamfara. For what? No. What you should do is that if the gold is in Zamfara, you should have the power to mine it, but those who are in the Ministry of Commerce or Inland Revenue or whoever will just to follow you and collect the tax, the same way they collect tax from beer parlor or anything like that. So we'll take care of that, and then there will be no much noise regarding restructuring.
My name is Dr. Ekpeyong Ambo, the State Chairman of Cross River State. I have 2 questions to ask you. The first question borders on your aspiration as an aspirant in SDP. I want to ask, as chairman of this forum, we are all here because we want to grow SDP. Tomorrow, if you become the candidate of SDP, what is it for us as chairman of this forum? Secondly, South-South has a very pertinent issue, as we all know, when it has to do with the general problem we have in Nigeria today, our black oil, our crude oil. And we have been cheated over years. Sir, as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the #1 citizen of this country, and the first man of SDP, what will you do differently to elevate the people, the glorious people of Southern Nigeria and South-South as a whole? Thank you.
There are 2 issues from South-South. If I'm going to carry the chairman along? Of course, we'll carry the chairman along. But my advice to the chairman is to keep improving on what you are doing now. And in your state, see yourself as mini presidents. Don't chase people away from the party because you are afraid to come and take your seat. Grow the party. Don't be a party chairman. When we visit you, where are your executive? You can't produce them. Where we have 21 local government, or 18 local government, or 20 local government, we say bring them, you cannot bring them. You're going to hire a crowd. That's not fair. So you need to grow your party and tell them that there is enough room in this party. And if anybody wants to join your party, join it. My uncle used to be an MPN official in Second Republic. And people used to assume that MPN was not liked in Yoruba land. That was not correct. Yoruba people like Shagari a lot. But MPN people had one trick. They did not want the party to grow. Because National Supply will send them rice, send them things. They didn't want them to be too many. So if you wanted to join MPN, they won't even open their office. You'll be looking for them. I want to join the party. They say, don't worry, go and join UPN. Because they wanted to be a few people. Because when they will appoint ambassador, they will pick them. When they will just do election and lose. Then go to Shagari in Lagos and say, see, I spent my money I lost. They say, okay, you be a pilgrim board. You be this. They didn't want people to join the party. Until Akinloye started thinking about it, and they started getting people like SM Afolabi, Omobori Owo, and other people who could fight. But you will see that those people fought MPN people inside, were fighting them because they didn't want to win election. They wanted to be perpetual losers who will go to Lagos to claim casualty. So I don't want SDP leaders to be like that. Let us grow the party. Only God gives reward. So do the work with an open heart. And I will work with you with an open heart. Understand the manifesto of the party. And let us use this party to learn how to run government. It is not when you get inside government, you will learn to run government. We will do a lot of seminars. I have discussed with the leaders of the party that we will have the Social Democratic Institute, where we'll be training our members. So we need to learn so that we can train ourselves. And a good president would only appoint people who are competent for the country. So the duty of the SDP people is to make themselves competent. So that you are not saying, well, I'm making Ambassador Bejide minister of this because the governor sent his name. No. You will say, I am making him because he merits it. He knows the subject. We argue it all the time. And when we are in government, the way we are sitting down together now, if we are together in government, you can remind me, excuse me, sir, we were together at Chelsea Hotel, don't tell me anything. We didn't agree to run the government like this. But if somebody is somebody's girlfriend who is jobless and is in London, and they send the person CV, and the person comes to become minister, he will be worshiping the president and say, this man made my life. But if you and I campaign together, we struggle together, we are gathering dust together, and we are in government, how am I doing a favor? I'm not doing a favor. The same government we agree to form, and that's why you are a member. So that's the attitude to it. So the chairman will not be neglected at all. The quality will not be compromised. Then on the issue of South-South, you see, I want us to do something for the country. Let us separate any discussion of the South-South from oil. If you want to develop South-South, and you want to give justice to the South-South of Nigeria, stop thinking about oil. Think of them as people. What would you do for them if they had no oil? That's what you should do. Because there was a time when there was no single drop of oil. And Nigeria made effort to send every child to school in the South-South. What we call South-South today was divided between Western region and Eastern region. And later, from 1963, it was divided into three: West, Midwest, and East. And everybody went to school. You go to Tom Brass, you go to Bonny, you go to Ekrimo, you go to everywhere. Every child went to school. All these people you see today who are the leaders of South-South, E.K. Clark, all of them were not trained with oil money because there was no oil in their time. How come they could produce people of that quality? Have you heard of Graham Douglas, Amakri, and all those fantastic, J.T. Spieth and so many other people? There was no oil at that time, and they were sent to the best schools. Why is it now that we cannot produce schools? We cannot maintain schools. So we have overemphasized the issue of oil. I treat Niger Delta people as Nigerians. I leave the oil apart. Because the politics of oil can easily be managed. What is happening to our oil is this. The oil is being stolen. It doesn't go to Niger Delta people, it doesn't go to anybody. As I speak to you today, I stand to be challenged. Minimum 70% of the crude oil produced in Niger Delta is stolen. No recording anywhere stolen and the money goes. That's why there's problem. Secondly, the money appropriated for derivation is given to the governors. That is why the political troublemakers, the overspenders, are South-South governors. Because they take the money directly and use to finance their personal politics. That's why a governor of a South-South state can be making trouble over how to appoint a councillor in Sokoto and spend his money to say, I want to put that councillor there, because he has excess money. So we need to interrogate a system where efficiency will be in government at that level so that the money will not be wasted for nothing. Then the federal intervention, right from UMPADEC to now NDDC, and all of that, it is necessary to switch off the mic when you are talking about NDDC because of the fact that a lot of money is being stolen there. Joshua Fumodo and so many other people. One of the greatest thinkers about the South-South was Tony Gurube, but unfortunately he's late now. If you look at it and your intervention, people like Claude Ake, go and see Claude Ake's intervention. You will never mention oil. Intervention is, these are people. Because apart from the oil, in fact, I will tell you, crude oil is not the most lucrative resource in the South-South. In fact, if it is possible to suspend oil exploration for 20 years, South-South will be far richer than it is today. Because there is the palm oil, there is fishery, and there are so many aspects. As a lawyer, I was a lawyer to a company in India that does grow shrimps. They carry shrimps and grow. And they will tell you that Niger Delta, because of the salinity of the soil, is the best for growing prawn. So if such a company were to come to Nigeria, they will make more money from growing shrimps and exporting shrimps all over the world than from crude oil. And look at what happened in Brass and Bonny with LNG. That's a clean way to handle petroleum resource. And of course, they are cheating us if you do the audit, but it is working. They're in their fifth train now. So we can use so many methods to manage the resources of Niger Delta, but the question of mutual blackmail, where the leaders of South-South interrogate the government only on the issue of oil, and the people are neglected by both sides, we should not tolerate it. We should try our best to see that the Human Development Index in South-South is improved, and the issue of intergovernmental aspects of sharing oil money does not interfere with the welfare of the people of Niger Delta. So that when it comes to environmental pollution, when it comes to access to clean water, when it comes to issue of habitation, I served on the Habitat Board for many years, and I discovered that the way people live in Niger Delta, there's some area in Indonesia called Irrawaddy Delta. They have similar problem. Some parts of Philippines has that problem, but really, apart from Niger Delta and those areas, the whole of the world has moved away from living in that abject condition. And we should be able to eradicate that within 5 years.
The president to be for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We know that this party is highly popular, ironically. What mechanism do you have for each state to make the party more popular so that we can achieve this aim? Thank you, sir.
This is how to do it, the way I know it. And this is what I've been doing even before I started working within the framework of the party, is that elections are won or lost at the polling unit. We can have National Working Committee, can have a NEC, can have a Board of Trustees. All these things don't matter except they can improve your ability to man your polling unit. Therefore, we must grow our membership from the polling unit. And a political party like SDP, with the appeal that we're having, with the historical legacy that we have, and with the fact that the people are tired of these two terrible parties, are ruling them now, we should be able to grow in the 186,000 plus polling units. We should be able to grow our membership to 200 per polling unit. If we work on that, where party chairmen are working at home, they're not trying to be too relevant in Abuja. They are working at home. And when I listen to party chairmen and all of that, I relate to them according to whether what they ask me to do has effect on the grassroots or not. But if you're inviting me to a big city and we're roaming this town and waving flag, and the party is not deep, it is not right. So we must create a forum for our members to have house meetings in each of the polling units. Then we take it to the ward level. That way, we will not have problems. The reason why many parties are disregistered is that though the state electoral commissions are cheating, but why can a party not be able to produce a councillor or at least House of Assembly member? So we need to go back and work in the grassroots. If we work in the grassroots, I think we will defeat them because Nigerians are tired of these two parties. So what it will be, the last 1 minute, is to thank you all for coming. And if you have more questions, you can send them to me. If you want to invite me to another forum to address issues, but just know that what brought me out of my private life is not a search for fame. It is a fulfillment of a destiny. Because a country cannot watch itself just collapse like this. When I was growing up, the fear of Nigeria was that Nigeria was going to break up. Nobody thought that Nigeria could break down. And what has happened now is that Nigeria has not broken up, but it has broken down. And there's no way Ambassador Bejide can explain to his colleague in Canada that he's in a country like this. They will ask him, Your Excellency, what is happening in that your country? And you go there and you are flying flag like this and you are blowing siren. They say, look at what's wrong with this man? They are kidnapping children in his hometown. He's blowing siren in Ottawa. What kind of nonsense is this? So it's a matter of shame. I've worked in many countries in the world. And if you read my 50th birthday brochure, you will see the leading law firms all over the world writing letters of how I've been helpful to them, how I've led their teams. But in my own country, when I'm landing in my country, I become afraid. Even the immigration man wants to seize my passport and collect something. So I now realize that there's no way you can be a great man without coming from a great country. So we must make a great country out of Nigeria. Thank you.